Hi, this is Heather Jerome from heatherjerome.com and from the Sonatas and Partitas.com. This video is the fourth and final video about the B minor Allemanda from the first Partita, BWV 1002. In this video, we're going to discuss sort of the structure of the second half of the Allemanda. I spoke in the first video about how this is in binary form and how I wanted to discuss how, even though the binary form is in two halves and each half is repeated, so they are separate little entities, there is this overall arch. And it's always great to look at how Bach deals with this overall arch. I really find it helps me as a performer. The other thing that I mentioned in the other video was how it's based on a French overture, and there's the triplets that come in and they're sort of more lyrical and rhetorical, and that you get them like the interplay between the rhetorical, lyrical, and the precise French overture. And I wanted to touch on that a little bit more today, and just mention again that when people would go to France and they would hear these French orchestras, they would always come back saying the same things. I've read several different accounts of people who went there, and they always came back saying that Lully was very disciplined with his orchestra, and also that he was very manneristic. And I wonder, like, what could that possibly mean? Like, how are they manneristic? It's just a dotted rhythm. And how, like, what was so disciplined about it? But I thought maybe what it is that this was written before the days of a metronome. And I've heard that Lully used to have his walking stick, and he would bang on the floor for to keep time instead of the metronome. And actually, that's how he died. He rammed himself in the foot and got gangrene. So I think he was very, very precise with the timing. And it was also for the dancers. So it had to be rhythmically exact, or it was better if it was. He wanted it to be. And, you know, in Italy, they were more expressive. And so I think there was this, a real difference in approach. And I think that both of the approaches can be seen here in this Allemanda. So when you're playing the triplets, take time to give it time. They are very expressive. It is in the form of a prelude. It takes the place of a prelude for the partita. So you can be, you know, a little bit improvisatory with the triplets, and you can also be very strict, if you like, with the dotted rhythms. So let's have a look at the structure. Now, what I want to start doing, instead of just like jumping and going chord by chord, I want to tell you overall how this piece is tied together. Now, when I was a student, I was always taught that the second half of a binary form starts in the dominant and winds its way back to the tonic. And once I started looking, I actually noticed that that wasn't true. I've never seen it happen like that. And here also, we have F sharp in the measure 13, and on downbeat of measure 14, we're already back in B minor. And then right after that, Bach starts taking us towards E minor. And this E minor place is what I call the structural pillar of the whole overall form. And in the sonatas and partitas, Bach always has this structural pillar. And often he lands on it with just a simple octave. It's always the music stops on that note. And so, for example, here in measure 19, that E minor is an octave, and it's the longest note in the whole piece. Everything that happens up to there is taking us there, and everything that happens after that is taking us home. And so I want to show you that today. And for me, once I can kind of see how that works, it really helps me kind of hold the piece together rather than having it be, you know, this more disjointed, like one nice idea after another. But why does idea A come before idea B and not after it? Like, there's a reason for that. And so it's good to look deeper and see that. So here we are in F sharp. We have B minor 1. On E minor. Now we're going to go around again and land back on E minor with a nice clear landing. But here Bach has like given us the clue that this is where we're going. He's got this a whole measure. Now we have a 5 of A minor to A minor. Then 5 of E minor. Now here, in the first video, there was a place with a clamp like this, and I suggested don't think of this as E minor because you wouldn't just go to E minor in second inversion like that. But here, this is what I think Bach is doing. We have this E minor in second inversion, and it's leading us to want that. And over the next little short while, that's what we have. So here we have, and now we're going to visit C, the 6th. And now the cadence. So that is to show you that everything from the beginning, how it's actually undeniably leading to this E minor cadence. So to get back home, first Bach will go through a circle of fifths, and then there's a little reminder that where we are going is B minor, then a quick 2-5-1 in E minor, and then we have our final cadence in B minor, starting with the Neapolitan, and then a 5-1 cadence at the end. In the sonatas and partitas, in all of the movements, except for the G minor presto actually, what Bach gives us after arriving at this main structural pillar is he takes us to the subdominant chord. So here we're in E minor, so he will either take us to A or A minor, and he takes us to A. And the way he would do that is he'll either turn the E minor into an E7 chord or an E minor 7, and here it's E minor 7. So here we have E minor, and there was a 7th, and now we're at A, and now circle of fifths, D, and now we're going to just give that little quick review back to B minor. There's the 5 in B minor, and now we're heading to 2-5-1 of E minor. Here we have another one of these instances in this Allemanda where Bach makes the line drop down an octave, and here I think it's particularly beautiful. That's really where the line is going, but Bach has that instead. And then, so there's our 2 to 7 of E minor, and then E minor, and then right to the Neapolitan. And now the dominant and root position, and the cadence, and then the tail. So just going back a couple of things here. When Bach has a Neapolitan, what I was taught in school, and I think what everyone was taught in school, is that the Neapolitan, now, just a quick little aside for those of you who don't know what a Neapolitan chord is. We are in the key of B minor, and so the Neapolitan is the chord that's built on the flattened second degree. So the second degree is C sharp, B, C sharp. You take that C sharp and you flatten it, so that's C. And then you build a chord above it, so that's C, E, G. And then you take the middle note and you put that in the bass, so you have E, G, C. And now what we were all taught is that this E in the bass is going to go up to the F sharp for the dominant chord and then resolve. But what Bach does with the Neapolitans is he has the bass note and then he keeps it in the bass to make it into a 5-7 chord with the 7th in the bass, and then he resolves it to a first inversion chord. That's here. And then he comes back around again and does it in root position. So it helps him elongate his cadence. But as soon as you hear the Neapolitan chord, you know that there's this cadential formula that's in effect. And now at the end, when you're playing the tail, you could take from what Bach has done and accentuate the lower note. Or you could really connect the top. I think both of them work, and I think it's nice to do one way and one the other way. Just a little interpretation idea if you like it. So now that we've gone over this in a little bit of detail, I'd just like to summarize how Bach takes us to the key of E minor and then how he takes us back home. So we're starting off the second half on F sharp. And what we do is we immediately go right to B minor at measure 14. And then after that, Bach straight away takes us to E minor with a pretty decisive landing with that tritone. A tritone in two voice counterpoint is actually extremely unusual. So that's a pretty strong sound, and it takes us to E minor. And then he comes back around again to land on E minor. And on the way there, we have a pretty strong suggestion that the cadence is going to come because there's a 6/4 chord there. There's a 1/6/4. So it's almost like he's got this elongated 1/6/4 to 5 to 1 cadence. This whole section is built to have us expect E minor. And then when we arrive there, there's definitely a feeling of release and of arrival. And then to get from E minor back to the home key of B minor, very typically what Bach does after arriving to this sort of structural landing place, if you will, is he leaves it by a circle of fifths. And here it's just a little short one, but we have E to A to D. And then after that, Bach visits B minor with 5/1, and then he revisits E minor with 2/5/1, and then that bass in the E minor stays held over for the Neapolitan chord. And then as soon as we hear that Neapolitan chord, we know that we're back in B minor, that the dominant is coming, and we have that cadence. So in the introductory videos, I discussed how Bach takes from the French with the French overture style, and he takes from the Italians with the rhetoric and affect, and he also takes from the German violin school, which was more technically advanced with a lot of double, triple stops, quadruple stops in this piece. But the other thing that Bach does with all this is that he has added on his own extremely sophisticated harmonic language and his harmonic structure, as we've seen in this piece, of how everything is so clearly directed towards a goal. It's so clearly directed home. So I hope you found this helpful. As always, let us know what you think at sonatasandpartitas.com.